What's up, everyone? Let me know how you're doing. Drop an emoji. Let me know how your day has been thus far. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. See, we got Pastor Jordan in the house. I see Riley's in the house. See, Stephanie is in the house. Riley's having a good day. Pastor Jordan is having a pensive day. Let me know how y'all are doing. Drop an emoji in the comment section. Okay, Stephanie's having a fly day. Okay. That's awesome. We're going to get started in a minute or so. Just want to give you guys a couple minutes to join. All right, so today I'm going to be speaking from James chapter number 1, verses 2 through 5. Closing out our joy series. Going to be speaking on the topic today of count it all joy. Count it all joy. And it reads the following. I just read a couple of verses and it says the following. It says, "Consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." Listen, over the past several weeks, we've been talking and speaking on the theme of joy and the difference between joy and happiness. And joy is the result of who you have, while happiness is the result of what you have. And understanding that happiness is an emotion, but joy is an emotional condition, which means that your world can be falling apart. Things may not be as you thought they would be. Situations might have arisen that you did not expect, and you've been in a predicament that you could not have imagined. But when you have joy within you, there's a peace that surpasses all understanding. There's a calmness within you because you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And so we see here in the book of James that he's speaking to his readers and he's telling them, listen, count it all joy. Everything that you go through, whether negative or positive or just downright ugly, count it all joy. Why? Because he knew that the testing of your faith, it produces perseverance. In other words, what James is basically telling his readers is to embrace the challenges and the trials that come your way. Now, when reading this, I had to pause and caution for a moment, and I had to ask myself, man, like if I'm going through a situation, if I'm going through a particular crisis within my life, the last form of advice that I would want to hear from someone is to tell me to count it all as joy. Why? Because when I'm in my mess, when I'm in my fire, I only want to get out. And I know I'm not alone. And so let me know if, whenever it is that you're going through a trial or you're going through a situation, the first thing you're asking God to do is to get you out of it. No one in their right mind is saying, okay, God, allow me to continue to go through this situation. Allow me to continue to feel this pain and these emotions of loneliness and anxiety. No one is saying for God to keep them in it. You're asking God to take you out. But what God is telling us to do is to embrace the challenges that come our way. And see, the difference between embracing something and enduring something is that whenever we're enduring it, we're doing just enough to get by. But God is telling us to go above and beyond, not to endure it, but to embrace it. A reminder for me is when I was in high school, and I don't know about y'all, but I hate math. If you hate math, just give me an emoji, drop something in the comment section. But I remember having like trigonometry and calculus, and I remember signing up for this course. And as soon as I was in there, I was like, God, why did I take this? And so I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to endure this. I'm going to do just enough to get by, pass with a C average, and just go about my way. But I could have had a different perception. I could have had a different mindset going into that semester. I could have said, you know what? And I know that this is going to be challenging. I know that it's going to be difficult and hard, but I'm going to embrace the challenges. See, the difference is that my friend who embraced it, though it was challenging for him, he ended up with a better grade. But for me, I was just doing enough to get by. And in life, sometimes it's like that with us, that we do just enough to get by. But God didn't die for you and I to do just enough to get by. He not only died for you and I to have life, but to have life and live it to the fullest. And so when we live life to the fullest, is basically being exactly who he called us to be, living to our fullest potential, living out those promises that he made over our lives. His word says that he knows the promises that he has for you, not to bring harm to you, but to give you, to give you hope in the future. And so we need to trust in God's plan over our lives. And part of that is that whenever we face tension in our lives, tension in our households or with our friends or within our relationship, is that we need to embrace those things. We need to embrace those things knowing that we can overcome them, because it's his joy that brings about strength in our lives. The second thing is that the challenges that occur in our lives, they produce perseverance. Now, for anyone here who plays sports, in particular track and field or cross country, one of the things that you need to do to be an effective or considered a good runner is that you need to have perseverance. You need to have a mindset that it's more mental than anything, and I remember, with cross country, every day in practice we'd run 6 miles, and I didn't understand the purpose of that, because when we'd have our meets it'd be 3 miles. But my coach said, listen, if you do this now, then whenever it's time for your meet, it's not going to be difficult, because what you did in private is going to show in results to what you do in public. And I remember taking his advice, and I became more of an effective runner. I became better at running because I took the counsel of my coach and the advice of my coach when he told me, listen, do it in practice so you can be good in public. And I believe that it's the same way with God, that he tells us, listen, take care of what you need to take care in private, which is your prayer life, your devotional life, having someone accountable, not only just reading the word, but to actually do what it says. And God will reward you in public. Many times we want platforms and we want the things that God's glory brings, but we don't want that process. And so God is telling us, listen, I'm trying to produce perseverance within you. I'm trying to produce a mentality for you, a mentality for you in the mindset of Christ. He says, think like me. He says, whatever is pure, whatever is noble, think of these things. And so God wants you to have the mindset of his son, Jesus. The last thing that James tells his readers is that the challenges that you and I face, that they shape our character. Now, drop an emoji if you've ever been through a heartbreak, a breakup. You thought your world was over. You thought it was it. You couldn't eat. You couldn't you couldn't do anything. You couldn't hop on the gram. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't function, do homework or anything. And you thought it was over. But then what happens? You started hanging around people. You started meeting new people. You started not feeling sorry for yourself, but you started doing something about it, and working on yourself. And whenever you did that, you say, you know what, that relationship, yeah, I thought it was difficult. Yeah, it was challenging. I didn't think I would be able to overcome it, but it's all right, because hindsight is 2020, is like what they say. And so you can look back at that and say, you know what, in that moment, it hurt. In that moment, it was difficult. In that moment, it was challenging, but I overcame that. And God wants to do the same with you, that in the moments of weakness, in the moments of temptation, where your faith is tested, where your faith is rocked, whether you have a family member that is terminally ill, whether you have finances that you don't know where you're going to get the funds to pay for, you lost your job, whatever it is, your parents are on the verge of divorce, whatever it is, whatever crisis it is that your faith is being tested, understand that if you trust God and you embrace the things that come your way, you embrace the trials and the challenges that come your way, when you come from that situation, you grow more mature. And so it's not really, we in life, we will lose things, but if we can learn from those things, it'll be beneficial for us. And so that's what God is calling us to do, to embrace the challenges, understand that the challenges produce perseverance, and that they also shape our character. God wants you and I to have life, and to have life and live it to the fullest. God wants us to live our lives to the fullest. Listen, I just want to remind everyone that tomorrow at 7 p.m. we are doing Movement Talks. Movement Talks is going to take place, and so we're going to have two topics for our Movement Talks on our Zoom app. And so if you don't have Zoom, go ahead and download the Zoom app, and we're going to put all that information in our story as well as in our comment section on how you can join and things of that. And so make sure that you tell someone who hasn't been on, who hasn't joined, to let them know of all the great things that God is doing within Movement Youth and the movement groups. And so hope you guys have a great Wednesday. Stay safe. And I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow on our Zoom movement groups. Take care. Much love.